Hi, everyone, and welcome to LA Phone Home. This is a bi-weekly series hosted by the amazing LA radio station Dublab in partnership with Vans Channel 66. We're here live from the Vans store in downtown LA. This series in partnership with Dublab happens every second and fourth Thursday right here on Vans Channel 66, where we have a bunch of great DJs, performers, community organizers, and other inspiring folks. My name is Vivian. I'm a DJ and producer. I go by Star Eyes, and I am super excited to be here with my friends who also happen to run one of America's most exciting record labels right now, and a super genre-defying selection of music. This is John, aka Trickfinger, and Aura, T09, aka Marcy. You will hear me call them by those names interchangeably. We're going to talk a little bit about Ever Records for those of you who are maybe tuned in for the first time and haven't checked out their Bandcamp or checked out all the sick music they're putting out. And then Aura is going to DJ some very sick deep cuts for the following hour and a half. So without further ado, welcome to the Ever Records show. How are you guys?
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So as like a fan of the label and somebody who plays your tunes, I definitely was wondering a little bit about when the label started and what were the kind of conversations that you guys were having kind of while you were baking this idea of doing a record label in your mind.
Well, I guess the idea started about 2 years ago, and Marcy's been such a big part of the rave scene here in LA. Has been such a big part of her life, and those have been my friends also for the last 12, 13 years or so. So we're just in this world, and we just felt like we had the ability to start a label and have a place where we wouldn't have to worry about how the industry's set up and how what kind of genres people are trendy with people right now or anything, and put out music by people that we liked who don't let genre or trends influence what they do, but who draw different aspects from different types of music that they feel that make them want to say something themselves.
I think it was also about like we were discussing like the temporalness of the rave scene and the rave community, and also like having a place for John's electronic music to kind of have a community centered around that was less temporal than just parties themselves. Also because John is more of like, as far as the electronic music side of your work, it's more stuff that he does at home. It's not as much performance based. So this was a way to have community for that, and have it kind of have take a physical form.
Like I and also like when you work with labels like Planet Muse / Timesig put out recent record by me, but you have to fit into their schedules. Like having your own label is a way that you can just put something out whenever you want, rather than like 2 years after you made the music or whatever.
Yeah, I love this thing that you said about creating community too, because I think when you're a music fan and you kind of fall in love with a certain label, you're falling in love with like a whole world that label has created. Like it's almost like characters in a comic book or something, where you're falling in love with the aesthetic, and the kind of the apex point of all of the music that's coming out on that label just like appeals to your sort of vibration, if you will. Yeah. I was kind of wondering about some of, there's definitely every kind of electronic genre in the mix in Ever Records, but I was wondering about the Venn diagram of you guys and kind of some of your like influences, either musically or just like aesthetically or spiritually. Like what are some things that are in the Venn diagram of your things that you like or things that you tap into?
Yeah, I feel like for me musically the Venn diagram is like pretty big, and so I think, I guess overlapping John and I. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. We've shown each other so much different electronic music throughout the years as friends, and from John coming to my shows and things like that. I actually met John through his musical partner, Venetian Snares, is how we met. And so there's that whole world.
Yeah, Marcy was a breakcore girl when I first knew her. So she wanted to jump around to breakcore. That was pretty much her whole life.
Really? Yeah. A lot of people don't, but we do. We all do.
Yeah, so breakcore is in the Venn diagram. And then I would also say John actually introduced me to trance, which is my whole thing.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was you that opened the trance portal.
John showed me Komakino, and then I went on a whole journey of that, and now it's super essential to my DJing and all of our music. So trance and breakcore is in the Venn diagram. IDM is in the Venn diagram.
It was not popular to say you like trance back in that breakcore crowd.
No,
but I had a few beers, and
I feel like trance is the thing that most people secretly like, but they can't necessarily admit it in certain circles.
Now you can admit it.
On this note, though, I mean, you completely nailed this beautiful, euphoric 90s trance sound on your Ever Records release with Booty. I was listening to it in the car, and it was like really helping me navigate this traffic. But I can't believe that that's something that is so new to you, because that record, like, you obviously grasped the feeling of it. So
new, well, sort of more like 10 or 12 years new, but newish still. Definitely not something I was listening to in high school. I was listening to drum and bass, and I had someone had given me an Aphex Twin Drux CD, but it didn't have the writing on it, and I didn't know what it was, so I was just listening to that every day of 11th grade, not knowing what it was. But that's definitely
but we're both really into jungle and stuff from the 90s, and we both like electro a lot. We both like
I showed John Burial Footwork, which he fell in love with. Yeah. Marcy
used to always send me music of different things, so there would be certain things that I'd like gravitate towards, because she sent way more music than anybody could ever listen to in one lifetime. And DJ Rashad was something I immediately responded to, which was something that she was into ahead of the pack for sure. Like Footwork was still just known inside Chicago, and Marcy knew all about it. So like we have a lot. We both like the 80s freestyle a lot. Like
definitely.
No wonder we're friends. But I mean, I'm glad you just named all those genres, because even though Ever Records is a genre-defying label, you will find mixes of all of these things that you just mentioned within all the different releases, which all kind of have so much personality. I feel like they're very reflective of the artist that's putting them out, and kind of like, with the latest Killborn release, you get so much of Ash's spirit in there, and like same thing with Pete Devnall, which will be coming out soon. It's like the essence of these people, even more than it is about what tempo is this or what style is this.
Yeah, we were talking about this in the car, actually, that we were like, well, is it actually okay to say that we're not part of any genre? But what we realized is that when things are kind of new, maybe even at like the beginning of Jungle or something, they're pulling from other genres that already are established. So at that beginning point, you would maybe speak to something and say, oh, that's like a such and such and such and such hybrid. But if you're doing that enough, then eventually like something new might come out of that ends up becoming a genre in and of itself. So what we were looking for in the artists that we like is that people who are putting a lot of themselves into it, where they're not aiming to be a part of a particular scene or a particular sound, but they're aiming to express themselves and from whatever sources inspire them. And so I think that is really key to the music that we're selecting, and I'm glad that you noticed that as well, because I feel that way too about Pete and Ash and Wheezy and CZ and Sam 23's release is like that as well.
Yeah, it's cool when artists have certain songs that are outliers. You know, even in history, it's cool. Sometimes there's like a jungle record where one song sounds just like a prototype of what you now know jungle to be,
right.
But there's another song that like doesn't sound like anything but that one song because it just happened in 91 or 92, and it's just some weird outlier thing but they were all drawing from, you know, American hip hop and drawing from like you know, hardcore and stuff like that, and it was just so sometimes you mix up a style in a way that later people go, that's the blueprint of how to do that style. But it's cool whether it's going to catch on or not, that you have different tunes that seem to combine different styles in different ways, and you know.
Yeah, we were talking about that idea before. There's a scene that coalesces that you can say, oh, this is this scene, and they wear these clothes, and the music sounds like this. That point right beforehand where people are experimenting and nobody's really come and slapped a label on it and done the article about the scene, where like that's the best part of every scene before anyone really knows what it is.
Yeah, it's great. It's just a thing that we like in music and art in general, for people to be drawing from whatever helps them to say whatever it is that they've got to say. Because in the end, what really matters is the character and the soul of the person making the music. I've never heard any two musicians sound alike in any genre, but the more people try to sound like each other, the less I'm interested in that. I'm interested more in people who sound like themselves and are drawing from different musical styles that turn them on in a way that gives them the opportunity to say what they want to say. You know.
On that note, John, I wanted to ask you about your project Speed Dealer Moms with Venetian Snares. So one thing I love is that the track titles on the most recent EP are just the date that you made them, and then how many sessions or how many takes you did to make the songs.
It's been written that it's sort of like we've always named them different. You know, I think at our first session, Aaron was naming the tracks, and he was naming them like March 6, 1879, and he was naming like he was just doing random dates from all throughout history. You know, so that was how we started, and then and at whatever session, whichever one of us was doing the final recording part of it all, it was our job to name the file, so we just name it whatever we thought. At that particular session, we did two. Well, okay, it's from 3 sessions, but like the April ones were because it was April, and we did 2 tracks during that session. So I called the first song April 1, and I called the second song April 2, and then they had a number in back of it, which was just what take we had gotten it on. So it's the month, but it's not the date. I don't know how far
there's
apart
still
those
an element
tunes
of mystery there
date.
to
Like,
what this is.
Yeah.
How did you set up this collaboration? Because you've been collaborating with Aaron, who's Venetian Snares, for over 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people know you for your guitar work, but you've done so many collaborations, and so much electronic focused music, in different forms, whether solo, whether with other people. How did you set that up with Aaron? Who did what, and what were the conversations you guys are having about what are we going to make? What are we going to do? Who are the Speed Dealer Moms?
You know, when it started, we were just 2 friends hanging out, sort of going on vacation at each other's houses, and it never really has changed from that. We'll live together for a couple of weeks while the other one is visiting, and we make music, and we never saw it it was only over time that we started going, we're a band, like me and him, and particularly our friend Chris, were just like, we're a band. And so we were on the lookout for a name, and we had a conversation that some of the people I grew up with, some of the girls are now Speed Dealer Moms, and it was just a rumor that I had heard.
There are people who have children who also deal speed.
Yeah. And we just thought, I think such a big part of our philosophy was the concept of remaining pure from outside influence, pure from that we weren't affected by what an audience might think. We didn't let that never entered our head, which with most people that's in their head, like in the forefront all the time. And with this collaboration, neither of us was ever thinking about what our music might sound like to other people. And we weren't thinking about how we would fit into any label or how we would release the music. A lot of our music is like, the songs are like real concise and orderly, but like a half hour long. They still sound composed, but they're long, like too long to put on a vinyl record. So we would just, none of that stuff was on our mind. And so to have a name that sort of symbolizes the lack of purity just seemed funny to us, like...
I don't know. We'll have to go ask the Marvista speed dealer moms about the purity.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have something to say on it. I mean, I think that's like a real luxury in this day and age to be able to make music without thinking about its final destination or the branding of it, and like be able to just separate yourself from that in a like even for 5 minutes, I think a lot of people can't do that. Marcy, you mentioned before about CZ and Wheezy, and we were talking about Kilborn and some of the other people on the label. And, there's people from all over, but it really does have a strong base in North America. Yeah. And if people are living in LA and you've been to an Ever Records party, then you know that there's definitely a very strong crew forming here around that. I kind of was wondering, being in LA as this label Ever Records, like what influence has the city had on you both? You've lived here like almost your whole life. Yeah. And like what is this label bringing to LA specifically? Because it's not like running this label in London, say, or Berlin or somewhere else other than this place.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me the experiences at the shows that I have been putting on has really shaped kind of my taste and also my awareness of Los Angeles and how we fit in the global community, which is sometimes we have a hard time finding our place in that. The dominant music here is not electronic music. It's much more hip hop or slow or even things that are electronic end up being more derived from that side of things, like the beat scene, which is all amazing stuff. But definitely techno and harder, faster stuff is much more predominant in Europe, and so it's nice for us to try to have like a stronghold of that here in the city, and to try to create that community here is really the objective. And so it's amazing that we have so many producers here that are so talented and really do. I mean, you'll see Wheezy's tracks being played by Ben Klock, in Europe at major festivals, and same for other people on our artists. Other people on our label, and I just feel like there's a lot to draw from here. I guess like inspiration-wise, LA has always had a really fun kind of take on rave that I think is different from other places. I think like the LA raves were always like really colorful, and like I know you were an LA raver, so
just nodding in agreement.
Yeah. So trying to bring some of that kind of spirit to everything that we do. And definitely we are focusing on North American artists for sure, just because we feel like they're the ones who need assistance and need a place to express themselves.
Yeah, I do feel like it's sometimes an uphill battle being in North America and the States in particular and making electronic music. Yeah. You don't necessarily have all the resources available to you, and it's not that easy to go play somewhere else. Like another country isn't an EasyJet $1 flight away. And so and we're a huge country, so it's been, always an uphill battle for us to kind of get together and have that community even within one city. A city like LA is huge, and so can get so splintered into the different scenes. But I do feel like that dose of fun, and that also kind of referencing, I mean, go to an Ever Records party and just see Marcy's laser for one thing. Marcy has the bomb laser. Or lasers, I should say.
The laser is an artist on our label.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like not being afraid to bring some of the fun into it and kind of push the tempos as well. I feel like does feel like a new iteration or a new thing or a return, maybe even.
Yeah, I'm always interested, because in the same way that the label is intended to be multi-genre, the parties themselves are also intended to be multi-genre, and I love it's the same in a multi-genre DJ set. You may go from one completely different vibe all the way to something else, and that it's that progression and that transition that's really of interest. And so I feel like we try really hard to tap into other scenes that are happening in Los Angeles themselves and bring those people in, invite them in, and be like, oh, there's these hardcore kids that they're just like railing intense music, and I'm like, that would be a perfect like climactic moment to our party, even though the whole thing isn't going to necessarily be that. We're pull from the kind of this fractured scenes and try to be a bit of the gel. That's the hope, at least. But like you said, existing within the United States is so funny, because sometimes we'll be like, yeah, we've got a really great thing going, and then your main person is like, I'm moving to Berlin, and you're like, wait, come back, like stay
like,
with us here.
Yeah, so I've thought about that a lot.
I did move to Berlin temporarily, and I moved back. So
right, because you've got to be like the party that you want to see in the world, or the label that you want to see in the world, and there is such a like a beauty to staying in the place that you're from and just really trying to put your mark on.
So glad to have you back, by the way.
Oh, it's great to be back. So yeah, I recently moved back here from New York. I'm an LA native. Grew up in the warehouses of downtown LA, San Bernardino, and Lancaster, many points beyond. But yeah, one of my like concerns of moving back here was like, where do I find my people, and where do I find this particular energy? And what you're saying about, pulling DJs and performers from different scenes and artists from all these different scenes and tempos, it really feels to me like when you walk through a 5-room rave and you're like, okay, I need to go to this room now and get like the trance energy or whatever, and then I need to go to like the breakcore room and just, headbang or whatever. And that feeling of the time when all the parties were all together and there wasn't so much like you were experiencing all of that music. Like, I really feel like it's about tapping into the energy more so or the feeling of some kind of music, more
tapping
so
into
than
the spirit rather than the particular sound. Yeah, follow the spirit. We always talk about that.
Before we get into your DJ set, I definitely want to talk about the aesthetics of Ever Records, and also let people know about this crazy app that you have. Maybe first of all, just tell people about the app and like where they can get it and what they can do with it.
Yeah, so we were just one of the things I guess we missed in our Venn diagram discussion was just like our artistic Venn diagram. And for me in particular, I've always been really interested in like the intersection with technology and art. And so when we decided to do our covers, and John always has like, whenever we've listened to records together, he's always like showing me the cover, and he's really interested in like the look and the feel and how the visual elements relate to the music. And so we wanted to do something special with the visuals for our label. And I have a friend, Mookie, who did this art project. She made these postcards that were activated by this app, and I had them on our fridge, and anytime anyone would come over, we would just I would show them this crazy thing would come out of your phone just from looking at her piece of art. And so we worked together with her to build a similar thing for our label. So essentially what it is it's an augmented reality app that you can get on the App Store, and I think it's also now, I just got an email that it's available on Android and Google phones as well. But essentially, it's like a QR code, but without having to have the visual of the QR code. It could be any image or any graphic. So you can actually scan the cover of all of the records. Sometimes there's something hidden secret on the label of the vinyl as well. All of our stickers have these like augmented reality experiences that happen when you download the app and you scan them, and it's pretty fun to play with.
Yeah, so you hold your phone up to it, and there's extra artwork that's there that you can't see until you hold your phone up to it. And there's also music on there, like on the Speed Dealer Moms one. There's a loop of like 30 seconds. That's the beginning of a take that we didn't release of one of the tunes that had a weird beginning that wasn't anywhere else. So yeah, when Snoop Dogg does it, you get messages from him. That was the only person we knew of who had used it.
I think he does it on like a Hennessy bottle or something, and
right.
Then the bottle like talks to you.
Yeah, so you can put secret messages to your fans or whatever. But in our case, we have little musical tidbits and moving art that's triggered by the phone seeing the record. Yeah.
Yeah, also first, like, you're creating cult items. So everyone, like, if you go to an Ever Records show or, you order a record on the Bandcamp.
We also scan our clothes.
Oh, I didn't know about the clothes too. Yeah. Damn. So if you get some Ever Records stuff in your hands, then you can kind of tap into some secret mysteries and some clues and like some stuff that nobody knows about.
Maybe eventually we'll use it for like our map point or something. I thought would be a fun, like, scan Evar 001 to find the location of the rave. It pops up with a map.
It's like a 3D rendering of the warehouse.
Here's the warehouse. It's right there.
Wow. I love that idea too, because electronic music is so based on technology and moves kind of at the speed of technology, and the different things that you can do and the ways that you can misuse it and use it and combine it. And, that's kind of been the history of it all along. And it's nice to see you guys using these like strange new technologies, but also having the mystery of the whole thing like that. I don't know. I feel like we haven't posted all of the things that you can find in there because I keep being like, use the app, but I don't want to give it all away. It's supposed to be something fun and special. John had a box set that had a button on it, and when you put, like, it was like a box set of records. RNS4. It was RNS4, and you would press a button and it would say this like really like cosmic message about going into the future, and I was like, I just wanted to always like put that record on and press the button. It was like, so I wanted to have that somebody to have that same feeling about the records on our label as well. I know that in one of our discussions, Chaos Magic was mentioned, which is cool because that's actually an inspiration behind my label as well. That's why it's called Chaos Clan, in part, and also because raves are chaos and music is chaos. But I was wondering, we've sort of danced around it, but are there any kind of ideas about infinity or like mysticism or spiritual ideas or cosmic, philosophical ideas that kind of somehow dance with the Ever Records label?
I think you better answer.
I think
too heady a question for
it's definitely
noon on a.
It's definitely there. It's
Tuesday,
just I feel
Thursday.
like hard to quantify. Like there's nothing specific, I guess, but we are both spiritual people and metaphysically.
We both believe in magic.
Yeah, we both believe in magic. That's in our Venn diagram, and the infinite. Just not 100% sure how to quantify specifically. I feel like you're good.
Good answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
it's there.
Yeah. It's just like I'm asking because it feels like it's there, but
it's there. Like I
it's hard to talk about.
Yeah,
it's just trying to feel it rather than talk about it.
But believing in feeling and believing in energy and believing in the things that you cannot see necessarily and feel and quantify, that's super important and central to what we're doing. And central even in like what we were discussing about how we select music. You know, it was like we're really just looking for a feeling and looking for tapping into something that's like beyond what's right there in front of you, which is the same kind of idea for the genre-less kind of thing.
Yeah, and believing in things that you can't see, like, to me it seems essential to feeling music and making music, because music is invisible. So we think of it as a normal thing because it's so readily available that anybody can make music now in any number of ways. But the reason music carries so much magic with it is that we're really playing games with the invisible, and there's no real logical reason why that's possible for human beings to do that or anything like that. The whole fact that that's an option for us is really, nobody knows where music comes from. Nobody knows like why the laws of the universe somehow all combined to make it possible for music to have this effect on our emotions, for it to be possible for us to organize sound in the way that you do. So the whole thing is very much magic, and we remember that all the time. We don't take it for granted. Music to us isn't just something that appears on our phone or something. It's something that we really... the same magic feeling that I had when I was a little kid playing my first records for the first time, and wow, this whole universe comes out of the speakers when I put this record on. Like, how did that happen? Like, I never heard a sound like that on the sidewalk or on the street. You know what I mean? Like, how did they put those sounds together? So, yeah, that feeling's never left me. It's just as magical when I put on a record today. You know. Yeah.
And there's also definitely something of that inherent in throwing events, because you're essentially like borrowing the energy of all of the people who come, and then with that energy that everybody brings to it individually, you're kind of like wizarding an collective experience that everybody gets to share in, but everyone is also a participant in and providing that. So like that's a little wizardry magic element as well, that we always remember that we rely on the energy of everyone.
Yeah, whatever that thing is that will make a certain group of people feel the same thing or more or less the same thing when they're exposed to the same music. It's just a magic thing. It might be, you know, a big concert at the Forum or something, or it could be a small little rave where 200 people are feeling the same thing at the same time. You know, one's not more valid than the other, but they're all examples of people sharing some little spark within themselves that music sets off that spark. And you know, who knows what that is? It's in us, but something put that there. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in this era where people are carefully designing things from a marketing perspective, and there's so much talk about like algorithm music and formulas, like it's refreshing to also know that you can still feel like you can still tap into the magic and the mystery, and people that are like kind of guarding that in a way, because I think you can feel that more than ever in this era of music. Like you can just tell if like something was just engineered by a formula, by an algorithm, because it seems flat.
Yeah.
And like I just, you know, that's why I wanted to ask about it too. And I think, you know, I couldn't have said it more beautifully myself. So we'll leave that there with those comments. I hate to like bring it back down to earth for 1 second, but just tell us what are some of the new releases and forthcoming releases that Ever Records is putting out, and what should we look out for?
Yeah, definitely. So our first vinyl release was from Lime Wax, and there's actually still a couple copies of that available. And our second release was Speed Dealer Moms. After that was Killborn, and that just came out last Friday. It's a really great release. After Killborn is Shasha Kimbo, a Los Angeles-based artist and producer with some amazing remixes on it from Lucy, Liza, and Machine Girl. And after that, we have a record from Pete Devnall. After that, we have a record from Wheezy. Pete is a Boston-based jungle producer and
jungle expert.
And jungle expert. He runs a blog to the old school. If you need knowledge, you can read that blog. It's amazing. And then we have Wheezy and CZ and a really amazing remix record for Wheezy's record that has incredible people. DJ Stingray, VTSS, myself with Cardo Pusher, and Tim Reaper is on that one as well. So,
goddamn, that is a heavy lineup. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to soak that all in. If you are in LA, you can see Aura play Friday night at a space called Vertex. It's their closing party. It's going to be lit. And definitely follow Eva Records and check out their Bandcamp
and
also.
Saturday night, you can see Vivian at another warehouse event.
I'm going to attempt to tap into the magic and the energy of Los Angeles with my friends Bianca Oblivion and AK Sports. We have a warehouse party in downtown LA. You can follow warp_mode_ if you want to come and you need party directions. It is definitely really in the cuts. I went there last night. It looks amazing. So, awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It was a real pleasure to find out more. And I love what you're doing. Keep going. And we are going to keep going. If you just tune in, this is Vans Channel 66. This is their collaboration with dublab that happens every second and fourth Thursday of the month. And I'm here with Trick Finger and Aura T09 from Eva Records, and we're going to get into a DJ set from Aura right now, in which I guess we can probably expect to hear some of the released and unreleased Eva Records jams. So get into it, drop us some love in the chat, and and check out the label while we're waiting for this epic sesh to kick off.